Gimbals are a staple for smooth cinematic shots. But with so many already out there, what's left to innovate? What if a gimbal wasn't just stable, but responsive? One that actually keeps up with fast dynamic movement. That's why I wanted to try the RS4 Mini. To push it to its limits, I needed intense movements to capture. So I called my buddy Yusuf, an action designer for TV shows and films, and asked if he could help me put it through a fight scene. Because if it can survive a fight, it can survive sports, dance, and even chasing your cat around. Both of us came from previous gen DJI gimbals, so we wanted to see one thing. What shots are possible only with the RS4 Mini? The worst part of using a gimbal for me is holding it all day. But at just 2 pounds, the RS4 Mini has been super comfortable to carry in my hand or throw into my bag. Whipping it around feels easy. So if you're looking to work out your biceps, I've got bad news for you.
That used to be so much bigger on the RS3.
It's so compact and lightweight, I started trying shots I'd never normally dare. But just because you can do something, it doesn't mean you should. If your monopod flexes like mine did, the only thing you'll capture is the sound of metal snapping. My first thought when I saw the RS4 Mini was there's no way this tiny gimbal could hold my usual camera combo. It's supposed to handle up to 4.4 pounds, and although it does in most cases, you may have trouble if you push it too far. If the gimbal isn't balanced perfectly, it can struggle with low-angle shots that tilt up. Add some movement in there, and you've got POV footage of a bumpy roller coaster ride. For everything else, it delivers the stability I expect from a DJI gimbal, like this shot here, featuring a skill I haven't forgotten since high school. Or so I thought. But smooth, slow shots are no surprise. For an action scene, we were more interested in the new responsive mode. The biggest challenge I've learned about shooting action is that you, the cameraman, are part of the choreography. Not only do your talents have to hit all their marks, you have to hit each one too. I tested each follow speed setting to keep up with the sword swings, but each one still felt too slow. Even if my hands were there, the gimbal was just a little behind, so I knew it was time to go beyond the presets. After more takes than we could count, we asked ourselves, why even bother with a gimbal for something this fast? Handheld gives you more chaos by being rougher around the edges. The RS4 Mini, on the other hand, adds clarity. It lets you clearly follow the action and appreciate what's happening on screen. I knew that if it could handle this, it could keep up with any unpredictable situation, just like this one. But the one thing I definitely couldn't predict was my own growth as a creator. I'm always surprised by how the right gear can accelerate my work, but gear alone isn't what made me grow. I kept thinking the next piece of gear or the next tutorial would be the answer. And honestly, I felt stuck for the longest time in a loop of burnout and feeling like I was falling behind. That's why I built Frame by Frame, a community for creators who are serious about growing. In hindsight, what I really needed was clarity. I needed real projects to be thoughtfully broken down for me, honest feedback about my work, and other creators to push me to reach my goals. That's exactly what you'll find here. I go step by step into the techniques I regularly use and break down videos like the one you're watching right now, so you don't just learn how, but also understand why I make the creative decisions I do. That way, you start thinking like the creator you've always wanted to become. If you're overwhelmed and feeling lost in your creative journey, I made this for you. You can join for free to connect with other like-minded creators or get access to my private lessons and channels to gain 17 years of my experience in making videos. A huge thank you to this month's Kaizen members, and if you're a creator with a growth mindset, then come join us with the link below. I've always believed the best gear should be the most intuitive to use. Yusuf wanted to test the RS4 Mini as well, which meant someone had to stand in for him.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Now, the sword swinging at me wasn't the scary part. It was knowing my snail speed reflexes weren't going to dodge it. Whew, that was close. Coming from previous gen models, we both adapted quickly to the gimbal. The only issue I ran into is a pretty specific one. After entering sport mode by holding the M button and pressing the trigger twice, the indicator that shows it on isn't quite obvious enough. So if you hand it off to someone or take a break between takes, it'll be super reactive with what feels like no explanation. Otherwise, it's an easy gimbal to use, even if it's the first one you'll own. If it's not the first gimbal you own, you will know this pain. After a long take, there's one thing I've always hated about using gimbals. You get the idea. Now imagine doing this after every take to watch playback. By the 17th take, my patience breaks down faster than my body. That's why this feature was what made me hit the Buy Now button on the RS4 Mini. When it comes out of my bag, it's ready to shoot when I am. When it's put to sleep between takes, the locks snap instantly, removing any frustration of a limp gimbal. This feature has ruined me because I can't go back to manual locking gimbals. Good specs don't matter if I hate using the tool, and this auto lock feature makes me want to keep shooting. One day, we may even have auto balancing gimbals. But until then, DJI hasn't forgotten about the camera balancing experience. They've introduced Teflon interlayers so adjustments feel like butter instead of scraping metal. I almost never shoot in vertical mode, but I had to test DJI's claim in taking 10 seconds to switch to vertical mode. Cool. I still won't shoot in vertical though. On the flip side, the feature I was most excited to try was the new intelligent tracking module. It snaps on magnetically with no extra mounts. Trigger it with a hand gesture and it locks on to your subject. For solo shooters or vloggers, this is the kind of feature that makes you wonder how you ever filmed without it. But what about fast-paced content that chases the action? That's where we started finding its limitations. At normal speeds, it's fine. But once the subject moves a little too quick, or spins, or gets covered for a split second, the tracker goes on standby until it finds a face again. Oddly enough, it stays locked on even if it's the back of your head, but not the top of it. So if you throw on a telephoto lens, you can get those sick Michael Bay orbit shots. For our fight scene, we used it for a vertical arc shot. It took some trial and error to get the right speed so the tracker would stay on him. But when it did, man did it give such a cool perspective. And the funny part is, sometimes the lag of the face tracking actually worked in my favor. Like over here, it followed the cards first and then drifted back to my face. I'm just gonna say it was intentional and let my buddy Thomas take all the credit for that one. The RS4 Mini might not be perfect, but it kept up when it mattered most. So instead of just telling you more, let me show you what it can really do.